in comparison to like spending money on, if I were to spend every dime I had, it would be infinitely less effective than what I do on a daily basis in front of the camera.
If I understand the chronology and the involvement, if I understand it correctly, keep in mind that with 1/10 of the money this guy makes, Hassan makes, I think the only reason that we have AOC is because, was it Kyle Kalinske and the Young Turks, or was it just Kyle Kalinske and Cenk Uygur decided to start and back the Justice Dems? So it's not like you have to. I like how every time somebody asks Hassan if he can do something, Hassan becomes the most hyperbolic thing in the fucking universe. Like, he always asks, like, the demand is just insane, right? Like, your mom was like, can you take your sister to school today, please? Seriously? So what, I'm the fucking school bus now? What, I have to take every single fucking kid in the whole goddamn city to fucking school? You understand I can't even do that. There's not even enough time in the fucking universe to do that, right? You know that I can't pick up every single person. I have 3 extra seats in my car. How am I going to take, like, come on. Like, it's better for me to just stay here at home and watch TV, Mom. Fuck you, you know? Like, Jesus. How much did you spend on canvassing for Ossoff and Warnock? I don't even remember. At this point, on all my canvassing activities, probably north of 200 or 300K. The time sink is a lot too, and the mental agony. Ugh.
Precisely the reason why corporations with multiple M's and B's sometimes, you know, billions of dollars of revenue come to me and they say, hey, can we use this for ourselves a little bit? And in most circumstances, I say no.
Okay. Anyway, here's my 7th Assassin's Creed ad today, guys. What would Hassan even accomplish with his money, though? I feel like his propaganda is good enough contribution to the causes he supports. He could start, like, grassroots parties. He could help, like, a socialist party win somewhere. Like for local seats or elections, or he could. I mean, there's a ton of stuff you can do when it comes to organizing, but I don't think he has like an interest in it, which is also fine. He could just say that and be honest about it. Like, there's probably more organizing I could have done, but I mean, I like streaming and doing debates and content and stuff as well. Well, that's why I tried hiring other people to do it. But you could just say, like, this is not my forte. I don't have an interest in it. I don't think I'd be good at it. I don't think I could find people to manage it. Like, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to do every single fucking thing, you know? My biggest fear, or my biggest concern, I guess, for me personally, was just the feeling that I have strong political beliefs about things, and that politics is ultimately about the acquisition of political power to enact and enforce things that you feel are important, and that if I only did online stuff and I didn't use any of my social influence or money to further those goals, it would feel a little hypocritical, I guess. Walt's team set up at least 20 Signal group chats for crises across the world. Based. Did Jeffrey get invited to all of them? Two of the people said they were in or have direct knowledge of at least 20 such chats. All 4 said they saw instances of sensitive information being discussed. Were they war plans or attack plans, though? Instead, we let Progressive Victory and Brown Woo fuck it up instead, LOL. I feel like, for all the faults or whatever else of Progressive Victory, I feel like the canvassing events and everything they organized, I feel like those went decently well. Not upset about any of the... There were issues related to, like, structure and moneyed stuff, but I'm not upset about how any of those canvassing events went. In retrospect, keeping it all in-house probably would have been better, but it was also, like, way more time for me and headache and everything sunk into it as well, so... Can you share what happened with Brianna Wu and PV? I don't think anything big or dramatic happened. I think Brianna had disagreements with Sam over how things were running, and then eventually they split ways, and then PV wound down after the elections. But I don't think there was like a huge story or anything, or at least not that I heard. I don't. Maybe somebody else said something. Jesus Christ! Wait, what is this? Hold on. Walgreens employee killed in a Luigi-style ambush in California by a man opposing pharma companies.
This chilling surveillance video. Narciso Gallardo Fernandez seen shooting at the camera just moments after allegedly killing a Walgreens employee. Police say Hernandez went to the parking lot to reload.
There is no relation between Narciso.
Went to the parking lot to reload?
There is.
Gallardo Fernandez seen shooting at the camera just moments after allegedly killing a Walgreens employee. Police say Hernandez went to the parking lot to reload.
There is no relation between Narciso and Eric Velasquez.
Madera Police Chief Gino Chermonte says Narciso drove from Pixley, showing up at the Walgreens
Okay, I don't think there's anything violent in this.
off Cleveland Avenue just before closing Monday.
We do know he has a general disdain or grudge against pharmacies, large-scale pharmacies.
This chilling.
What? Why would the cop even say this unless you have like way more information? I feel like it's a really irresponsible statement, but okay. Walgreens employee killed in a Luigi-style ambush in California by a man opposing pharma companies. Like, the cop shouldn't have even said that unless you have way more info. Also, fuck the Luigi guy. I hope he gets fucking whatever, capital punishment or life in prison. But we can't just say that every killing now is because of him or Luigi-style ambush. Like, did Luigi invent assassinating people? Whatever, okay. He was shooting with a car launcher. He had to reload a car. Okay. Based. The biggest throw PB did is paying so many worthless commies, omega lol. It's really hard for companies to pay people to do political stuff. There's a lot of money that gets thrown around there, in my opinion, in an ineffective way, but... Ho's decision absolutely excoriates DOJ's rationale for dismissing the Eric Adams case. Invitation to deny the motion, but it concludes that many of their arguments of merit, DOJ's first asserted rationale for dismissing the case, that it has been tainted by appearances of impropriety, Rule 48, A, Motion 5, is unsupported by any objective evidence. Rather, the record before the court indicates that the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York prosecutors who worked on this case followed all appropriate Justice Department guidelines. There is no evidence, zero, that they had any improper motives. Indeed, DOJ's memorandum directing dismissal of this case took care to note that it did not call into question the integrity and efforts of the line prosecutors responsible for the case or the efforts of the U.S. Attorney leading the office at the time of the memorandum. In DOJ's assertion that this case, which was brought 9 months before the 2025 New York City mayoral primary election, somehow amounts to election interference, lacks any support in Justice Department guidelines or past practice. In fact, the timing of this case is entirely consistent with prior public corruption prosecutions. All suggests that the appearance of impropriety rationale is not just thin, but pretextual. Does pretextual mean you're just like post hoc inventing a reason to say something? Is that what pretextual means? As for the immigration enforcement rationale, to the extent that DOJ suggests that Mayor Adams is unable to assist with immigration enforcement while this case is ongoing, such an assertion is simply unsubstantiated. Indeed, shortly after DOJ made the decision to seek dismissal of the case, and while the indictment was still pending, the mayor announced that he would permit Immigration and Customs Enforcement to operate at the Rikers Island jail complex, an act that appears to be contrary to New York City law. In other words, the record does not show that this case has impaired Mayor Adams in his immigration enforcement efforts. Instead, it shows that the DOJ decided to seek dismissal of his case. The mayor took at least one new immigration-related action consistent with the preferences of the new administration. Everything here smacks of a bargain. Dismissal of the indictment in exchange for immigration policy concessions. Damn. I don't know where I read this, but apparently, this case was dismissed with prejudice. Dismissal. Do you think if you donated the money you spent on canvassing to 60 Abrams, Oregon, Georgia, it would have been as effective as you mobilizing your community? Curious your thoughts on establishment versus grassroots in this instance, since you have firsthand experience on the streamers weaponizing, I guess, or mobilizing their social capital is more effective than just streamers throwing money at a thing, because people pay money for social capital, and if a streamer can lend social capital to something, then it's more effective than just donating money. Not that there's anything wrong with donating money, but... What is this? I fucking hate Asmongold. Asmongold, one of the biggest youth influencers of our time, is promoting authoritarianism, fascism, and xenophobia with an unshakable glee because he had to see more women and black people in his fucking video games. Asmongold has been primed for this by Steve Bannon before Trump was even running for office. While Asmon's creating guides to make gold in WoW, Bannon was running Chinese gold farms, causing inflation in WoW. They had a sort of symbiotic relationship where Asmongold would indirectly find the best places for Chinese gold sellers to farm, while inflation caused more people to watch Asmongold gold farming videos. There are few people as good of an example of Steve Bannon tact of targeting disillusioned WoW gamers succeeding like Asmon. This dude got brainwashed by Steve Bannon because he blamed Chinese for ruining WoW economy instead of realizing the guy responsible for the farms was an American. Wait, what? Before Steve Bannon oversaw the conservative Breitbart News Network and subsequently joined then-candidate Donald Trump's campaign, the chief political strategist became a player of Hollywood and World of Warcraft. Bannon's migration from banker at Goldman Sachs to his current post in Trump's inner circle. Jesus Christ. Link me the whatever thing is coming up. Trump thing. Philosophy arc soon. Facts won't beat MAGA because they're brainwashed. In my opinion, informal logic is the best reality check as it forces them to come out of their cognitive dissonance. The best reality check is to see a conservative figure have to defend any of their positions to another figure. There's a reason why they all
Elon Musk
religiously avoid any sort of real confrontation, because it would be catastrophic. Eventually it'll happen. Jim Banks says he won't back down after telling fired HHS employee he probably deserved it.
System for up to 100% leak-free periods.
Thank you. Oh, this isn't related. Sorry, just kidding. Why would I think the video on here is ever related to the article? My bad. Okay, this guy's a loser, don't care. Jesus, what an ad. Jesus. Full screen.
Hi, I was a worker at HHS. I was fired illegally on February 14th. There are many people who are not getting social service programs, especially people with disabilities. Are you going to do anything to stop what's happening?
You probably deserved it.
I deserved it?
You probably deserved it.
I deserved it.
Dude,
wow.
that.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Why did I deserve it?
Because you seem like a clown. You probably deserved it.
Damn. True. True. I love finding good memes from accounts that have me blocked, so then I can just jack the meme and repost it. And then if anybody's like, why'd you steal that meme? I'm like, oh, he had me blocked. I couldn't retweet it. Got him. Trump's Liberation Day is coming, and if it is anything to go by like other tariff days, it won't feel liberating. Why? Because he's front-loading bad news. It sounds crazy, but I have given it some thought, and here are what I think his short-term objectives are. Okay. Do you think they paid a real piano player for this, or do you think it's just a recording? Any thoughts on surrounding of Taiwan by China, likely related to Hegseth and Japan plus US taking over Panama Canal, its impact on the BRI? What is BRI? With companies leaving HK, Hong Kong, China economy getting spicy. No clue. I'm pretty sure if Taiwan gets fucked with, the US will do fuck all about it though, so. Slightly off topic, but any advice on knowing when to take a risk to change your life? I have savings and skills, but my stable day job eats my time. Just scared to risk it all. Well, just dip your toe in. You don't have to risk everything. I don't know if there's a thing you think you want to do, start doing it a little bit in your free time.
Our last conversation.
Super Zionist guy in Cake Chat wants me to watch this video. We might. We'll see.
Donald Trump has...
Shut up. Apparently Vitali's got arrested.
I'm gonna fucking rob you if you keep walking away. I want to give you money. No, okay. No. Okay, because you got a COVID mask, you liberal fuck. Go get your vaccine. I was trying to give you money, but all right. Trying to be nicer. You. No, yeah. Hello. Papa, Papa, Rats, Papa, Queen, Papa.
A Russian-American vlogger who recently went viral on social media for harassing security guards and passersby in a mall in Taguig City was arrested on Wednesday, April 2nd, according to the Bureau of Immigration. Damn. I guess. I'm assuming this is about him. They both got linked in chat. The God Emperor. Yes. King. King Emperor Trump. Yes. My king. Yes. I'm coming. I'm
Thank
coming.
You very much.
He's my king. I'm coming for my king.
Thank you. Nice crowd. What a good-looking group of people. Well, we have some very, very good news today. And
yeah.
A lot of good things are happening for our country. Please sit down. My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. waiting for a long time.
Yes, King.
April 2nd, 2025
Liberate
will
me.
forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed,
Name drop.
and the day that we began to make America wealthy again.
Ooh,
Gonna make it wealthy, good
Hell
and
yeah.
wealthy. For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike.
Now we're going to rape ourselves.
American steel workers, auto workers, farmers, and skilled craftsmen. We have a lot of them here with us today. They really suffered gravely. They watched in anguish as foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, and foreign scavengers have torn apart our once beautiful American dream. We had an American dream that you don't hear so much about. You did 4 years ago, and you are now, but you don't too often, and for many years and decades even, you didn't hear too much about.
True.
Our country and its taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years, but it is not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen.
Is there anybody cooler than Donald Trump?
In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple, can't get any simpler than that. This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, in American history. It's our declaration of economic independence. For years, hardworking American citizens were forced to sit on the sidelines as other nations got rich and powerful.
People keep wanting a ticker.
Much of
The markets close at 4.
But now it's our turn to prosper, and in so doing, use trillions and trillions of dollars to reduce
There's a
our
reason he's
taxes
announcing
and
it
pay
now.
down our national debt, and it'll all happen very quickly. With today's action, we are finally going to be
Trillions?
able to
Yes.
make America great again, greater than ever before.
Yeah.
Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country, and you see it happening already.
True.
We will supercharge our domestic industrial base. We will pry open foreign markets and break down foreign trade barriers. And ultimately, more production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers. This will be indeed the golden age of America. It's coming back. We're going to come back very strongly. We're pleased to be joined on this momentous occasion by Vice President J.D. Vance. J.D., thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Where are you, J.D.? No, that wasn't too hard to find. I was looking.
That's
he likes
senility.
to take a low-key attitude, so it'd usually be sit right in front. He's gaining a lot of confidence, Mike, isn't it? And nearly my entire cabinet is here, as well as Speaker Mike Johnson, who's done an amazing job. And with the great success we had last night in Florida, we have a majority of 7. And 7's like a lot when we had it at 1, right? You've done a fantastic job. And many of the members of the House and Senate are with us. Senators, congressmen, thank you all for being with us. We appreciate it. For decades, the United States slashed our trade barriers on other countries, while those nations placed massive tariffs on our products and created outrageous non-monetary barriers to decimate our industries. And in many cases, the non-monetary barriers were worse than the monetary ones. They manipulated their currencies, subsidized their exports, stole our intellectual property, imposed exorbitant VAT taxes to disadvantage our products, adopted unfair rules and technical standards, and created filthy pollution havens. They were absolutely filthy, but they always came to us and they said, we're violating, we should pay for it. It's all detailed in a very big report by the U.S. Trade Representative on Foreign Trade Barriers, and I'll just hold it up for you. It's available, and you don't have to pay too much. As I understand it, you'll pay nothing. It's a lot of work for something, actually, because it's a special book. It's very, frankly, it's very upsetting when you read it, when you see what people have been doing to us for 30 years.
I'm sure he read so much of that book, Trump. Yes, I'm sure you've read so much.
Happened with no response from the United States of America, none whatsoever. But those days are over. Let me offer just a few examples of the vicious attacks our workers have faced for so many years. The United States charges other countries only a 2.4 tariff on motorcycles. Meanwhile, Thailand and others are charging much higher prices, like 60%. India charges 70%. Vietnam charges 75%, and others are even higher than that.
Wow.
Likewise, until today, the United States has for decades charged a 2.5 tariff. Think of that, 2.5% on foreign-made automobiles. The European Union charges us more than 10% tariffs, and they have 20% VATs, much, much higher.
20%
India
VATs,
charges
guys.
70%, and perhaps worst of all are the non-monetary restrictions imposed by South Korea.
Wait, why does a VAT matter? What doesn't everybody pay a VAT? What does it have to do with anything? Wait, what? Or am I misunderstanding? I mean, if they're charging U.S.-specific VATs, that would be bad, but okay.
Japan and very many other nations as a result of these colossal trade barriers. 81% of the cars in South Korea are made in South Korea. 94% of the cars in Japan are made in Japan. Toyota sells 1 million foreign-made automobiles into the United States, and General Motors sells almost none. Ford sells very little. None of our companies are allowed to go into other countries.
Wow.
And I say that, friend and foe. And in many cases, the friend is worse than the foe in terms of trade. But such horrendous imbalances have devastated our industrial base and put our national security at risk. I don't blame these other countries at all for this calamity. I blame former presidents and past leaders who weren't doing their job. They let it happen.
Can we get some Biden blame?
That nobody can even believe. That's why, effective at midnight, we will impose a 25% tariff on all foreign-made automobiles.
Get your cars now.
Brian, I'd like to have you come up here for a second, okay? I just see him sitting. He's been a fan of ours, and he understands this business a lot better than the economist, a lot better than anybody. Brian, say a few words, please, would you? Thank you, Mr. Thank you. It's a great honor.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. President. I grew up just north of Detroit, Michigan, in Macomb County.
Good for you,
known
dude.
as the home of the Reagan Democrats. My first vote for president was for Ronald Reagan. I thought that was going to be the best president I ever saw in my lifetime.
But now it got Trump.
Until Donald J. Trump came along.
Oh, my God. Slurp, slurp, slurp.
I have watched my entire life, I have watched plant after plant after plant
Get
in
shut
Detroit
down.
and in the metro Detroit area
For these
close.
Chinese
there are
car
now
companies.
Plants sitting idle. There are now plants that are underutilized, and Donald Trump's policies are going to bring product back into those underutilized plants. There's going to be new investment. There's going to be new plants built. And the UAW members, and I brought 20 of them with me, they're sitting right over here.
Does the UAW broadly support this?
Donald Trump's policies on tariffs.
I imagine they probably would, but I'm curious if there's
so,
like an
Mr.
official
President,
stance.
We can't thank you enough. And in 6 months or a year, we're going to begin to see the benefits. I can't wait to see what's happening 3 or 4 years down the road. Thank you, Mr. President.
What a great guy. He got it right from the beginning. He got it before almost anybody else. This group over there, they got it too. And, you know, we won the state of Michigan. We won
Hi, honey, baby.
almost all of them.
Hi, honey, boo-boo.
But we won Michigan by a lot, and I want to just thank you all. The auto workers were fantastic. The Teamsters were fantastic. Everyone was pretty good, I will tell you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're going to be very happy very soon. And
a victory for auto workers, auto tariffs mark the beginning of the end of
the,
NAFTA. Okay.
not only
So
car
they do
companies,
support it.
but car companies in particular. See it with all of the ones they're moving, they're announcing day in, day out. You're seeing it. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. With today's actions, we're also standing up for our great farmers and ranchers who are brutalized by nations all over the world. Brutalized.
Brutalized.
Canada, by the way, imposes a 250 to 300% tariff
Who cares
on
if it's
many
wrong?
of our
Just
dairy
keep
products.
saying it.
They do
Keep
the first,
saying it.
The first can of milk. They do the first little carton of milk at a very low price, but after that it gets bad, and then it gets up to 275, 300%.
Oh, he's
so
trying
when
to
they're
be slightly
figuring
more
what's
truthful.
Canada charging? They say, oh, about 2%, 3%. But take a look at what happens down the road. When you look a little bit, it's not a pretty picture, and we don't like it, and it's not fair. It's not fair to our farmers. It's not fair to our country. And with countries like Canada, you know, we subsidize a lot of countries and keep them going and keep them in business. In the case of Mexico, it's $300 billion a year. In the case of Canada, it's close to $200 billion a year. And I say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? I mean, at what point do we say, you got to work for yourselves and you got to, this is why we have the big deficits. This is why we have that amount of debt that's been placed on our heads over the last number of years, and we're really not taking it anymore. Through non-tariff barriers, the European Union bans imports of most American poultry. You understand? They say, we want to send you our cars, we want to send you everything, but we're not going to take anything that you have. Australia bans, and they're wonderful people and wonderful everything, but they ban American beef, yet we imported $3 billion of Australian beef from them just last year alone. They won't take any of our beef. They don't want it because they don't want it to affect their farmers. And you know what? I don't blame them, but we're doing the same thing right now, starting about midnight tonight, I would say.
Woo! Hell yeah. God
And
Emperor
China
Trump.
charges American rice farmers an overquota, it's called, a tariff rate of 65%. South Korea charges 50. Actually, they charge different from 50%
Good thing I didn't buy that fucking shitty ass Porsche. Hell yeah. I got my good Ford.
to 513%. And Japan, our friend, charges a 700%. But that's because they don't want us selling rice and other things. Who can blame them, Madam Secretary? Agriculture, great job you did on eggs, by the way. The egg prices came down 50%. You got them down 50%. Once we got involved, they were going through the sky. The egg prices, they were going through the sky, and you did a fantastic job. Now we have lots of eggs, and they're much cheaper, down about 59% now, and they're going down further. We charge 2.8% for so many things that other countries are charging 200%, 300%, and 400% for. If imposing tariffs and protective barriers made nations poor, then every country on earth would be racing to eliminate these policies, and China would be the first on line. They run a very strong country, but they're not first in line, and the American people are paying a very big price. From 1789 to 1913, we were a tariff-backed nation, and the United States was proportionately the wealthiest it has ever been. So wealthy, in fact, that in the 1880s, they established a commission to decide what they were going to do with the vast sums of money they were collecting. We were collecting so much money so fast, we didn't know what to do with it. Isn't that a nice problem to have? What do you think, Marco? Good problem? Marco would love that.
Can I just say real quick, unless I'm misunderstanding something, one of the dumbest fucking things in the universe, apparently Florida had an excess of like federal funds or something that they didn't use, and fucking DeSantis gave it back to the federal government. Why the fuck would you do that? Why wouldn't you keep it and spend it here? Is there like a reason he had to do that, or does Florida get anything for that? What the fuck?
Problem. But
it was almost $1 billion,
I think.
problem
anymore, but we're not going to have it very much longer, I will tell you. But they collected so much money, they actually formed a commission to determine what they were going to do with the money, who they were going to give it to, and how much. Then in 1913, for reasons unknown to mankind, they established the income tax so that citizens, rather than foreign countries, would start paying the money necessary to run our government. Then in 1929, it all came to a very abrupt end with the Great Depression. And it would have never happened if they had stayed with the tariff policy. It would have been a much different story. They tried to bring back tariffs to save our country, but it was gone. It was gone. It was too late. Nothing could have been done. It took years and years to get out of that depression, far longer than even FDR.
And it was just because we got rid of tariffs. If it wouldn't have been, we would have kept the tariffs, there would have been no depression.
Him, and every time you walk up, you think of him, and he did a great job in many ways, but it lasted long beyond his terms, as you know. But it's not too late any longer, and we're going to start being smart, and we're going to start being very wealthy again. We're going to be wealthy as a country because they've taken so much of our wealth away from us. We're not going to let that happen. We truly can be very wealthy. We can be so much wealthier than any country. It's not even believable, but we're getting smart. Nearly a century later, in the face of unrelenting economic warfare, the United States can no longer continue with a policy of unilateral economic surrender. We cannot pay the deficits of Canada, Mexico, and so many other countries. We used to do it. We can't do it anymore. We take care of countries all over the world. We pay for their military. We pay for everything they have to pay. And then when you want to cut back a little bit, they get upset that you're not taking care of them any longer. But we have to take care of our people. and we're going to take care of our people first. And I'm sorry to say that.
Why are you sorry to say that? Dipshit.
And today we're standing up for the American worker, and we are finally putting America first. In Sleepy Joe Biden's last year in office, the United States hemorrhaged 100,000 manufacturing jobs, and the number was going through the roof at levels never seen before. And our trade deficit reached a record $1.2 trillion, which is unheard of. Since the beginning of NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made, it was a horror show. I was able to terminate it. They all said you'd never be able to get it out. We had to get approval from Congress to get it terminated. We had to live with that deal. It was the worst deal.
To be clear, he didn't terminate NAFTA. He just slightly changed it. That's what the U.S.-Mexico
the very beginning of NAFTA, our country
trade
lost
agreement is. But okay.
90,000 factories. Think of what that is, 90,000. Think about putting a map up and putting text on it. You wouldn't have enough room. 90,000. I said, is that possible? We had it checked 4 different times, and it was actually somewhat higher than that. And 5 million manufacturing jobs were lost while racking up trade deficits of $19 trillion. That was the worst trade deal ever made. As a result of these gigantic losses, foreign nations now own $26 trillion more of American assets than American.
I didn't bring any
Think of
cliff
this, than the
explosives
Americans
with me.
own of their own foreign assets or other foreign assets. The United States can no longer produce enough antibiotics to treat our sick. We have a tremendous problem. We have to go to foreign countries to treat our sick. If anything ever happened from a war standpoint, we wouldn't be able to do it. We import virtually all of our
We have to go to other countries to treat our sick? Wait, what did he just say?
Americans own of their own foreign assets or other foreign assets. The United States can no longer produce enough antibiotics to treat our sick. We have a tremendous problem. We have to go to
Oh, we have to go to buy
nations
shit.
now
No,
own
never mind.
$26
Okay.
trillion more of American assets than think of this, than the Americans own of their own foreign assets or other foreign assets. The United States can no longer produce enough antibiotics to treat our sick.
We can produce these, right? Like, I wish people would just ask, why don't we buy them from the other countries? Why do we buy them? Or I'm sorry, why don't we buy them all or domestically manufacture them? Why do we buy them from other countries? Because it's cheaper. So they're just going to cost more. Although I guess to be fair, it doesn't matter that it's going to cost more since the Republicans and Trump are trying to get single payer healthcare or some sort of like public. Oh no, wait, they're not trying to do anything for healthcare either. Never mind. Just kidding. Lol.
We have a tremendous problem. We have to go to foreign countries to treat our sick. If anything ever happened from a war standpoint, we wouldn't be able to do it. We import virtually all of our computers, phones, televisions, and electronics. We used to dominate the field, and now we import it all from different countries. A single shipyard in China now produces more ships every year than all of the American shipyards combined. Think of that. And it was a business that we used to dominate. We used to dominate it totally. In short, chronic trade deficits are no longer merely an economic problem. They're a national emergency that threatens our security and our very way of life. It's a very great threat to our country. And for these reasons, starting tomorrow, the United States will implement reciprocal tariffs on other nations. It's been a long time since we even thought of that. We used to think about it a lot. We didn't think about it for many decades, and you see what's happened. For nations that treat us badly, we will calculate the combined rate of all their tariffs, non-monetary barriers, and other forms of cheating.
Oh, yeah.
And because we are being very kind, we're kind people, very kind. You're not so kind when you get ripped off with your salaries. My auto worker friends and my Teamster friends and all of the unions that typically voted Democrat, they're not voting Democrat anymore because worker, whether union or non-worker, they're for the Republicans now. That's what happened. But we will charge them approximately half of what they are and have been charging us. So the tariffs will be not a full reciprocal. I could have done that, yes, but it would have been tough for a lot of countries who didn't want to do that. I'd like to see the chart if you have it.
He's so kind.
This is our great Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick. Thank you.
What the fuck? I hate unions. Remember, I'll say it a million times. Your opinions about unions shouldn't change. Unions are not good, okay? Companies are not bad, all right? Companies represent the interest of the owner. Unions represent the interest of the employee. That's it. Lefties and other dipshits have tricked you into thinking that companies represent interests that are against society and unions represent interests that are for society. That's not true. If a union has the opportunity to support society or their employees, unions will represent their employees, which is good. That's what they're supposed to do. So it's not surprising that the United Auto Workers, the UAW, would support this trade deal or these tariffs is because they can protect their own employees and get probably greater wages and jobs and whatever for their individual employees at home, even if it's overall going to be bad for the economy. But that's what unions are supposed to do. Just always remember that, okay? Always remember that.
So if you look at that, China, first row.
God, bro, you fucking kill me, dude. Jesus Christ.
China, 67%. That's tariffs charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers. So 67%, I think you can, for the most part, see it. Those with good eyes, with bad eyes. We didn't want to bring, it's very windy out here. We didn't want to bring out the big charts because it had no chance of standing. Fortunately, we came armed with a little smaller chart. So 67%, so we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. I think, in other words, they charge us, we charge them less. So how can anybody be upset? They will be because we never charge anybody anything, but now we're going to charge. European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders.
Okay, for people that are looking at the markets are closed, okay? So you can't look for the market response to what's going on because the market is closed. For people that want to get smart and chat and say, actually, Desi, there's after-hours trading. After-hours trading volume is significantly less than ordinary trading hours, meaning there's going to be much higher volatility, okay? When it comes to trading securities. So there could be a much more dramatic swing up or down. Oh, wait, they're literally open? Wait, I thought they closed at 4. Am I crazy? Okay, if they're open now, then forget everything I just said. But aftermarket trading is always really sensitive to volatility because there's less volume, so be careful.
You know, you think of European Union, very friendly. They rip us off. It's so sad to see. It's so pathetic.
I thought they closed at 4.
39%. We're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half. Vietnam, great negotiators, great people. They like me, I like them. The problem is they charge us 90%.
Closed for retarded. Okay, if you're talking about futures markets, that's a different thing, sure. I'm just saying if you're looking at the ordinary stock market, the changes before and after, it don't matter. Or I'm sorry, when the markets are closed, it's not as important. Futures market is how indexes. Okay, that's fine. Okay, different thing.
We're going to charge them 46% tariff. Taiwan, where they took all of our computer chips and semiconductors. We used to be the king, right? We were everything. We had all of it. Now we have almost none of it, except the biggest company is coming in. We're going to end up with almost 40%. Lee Zeldin's working to get their approvals. And it's an amazing company. Mr. Wei of one of the great companies.
I love how they have to balance the game in a way that makes no sense. I can fit 6 whole gun turrets for 128 kilograms, but the ammo, I can only fit 44 magazines? Really?
Companies of the world, actually. They're coming in from Taiwan, and they're going to build one of the biggest plants in the world, maybe the biggest for that.
The biggest.
But 64%, we're going to charge them 32%. Japan, very, very tough. Great people. And again, I don't blame the people for doing it. I think they're very smart in doing it. I blame the people that sat right in that Oval Office, right over there, right behind the Resolute desk or whichever desk they chose. Japan.
Can you explain why supply side economics doesn't work? Just as a real quick thing, labor is a cost of doing business. A cost. You don't ever want to increase your costs unless you have to. So giving more money to an owner doesn't ever mean that they should theoretically increase the costs. They're just going to increase the amount of money they make. That's it.
And 46%. They would charge us 46%, and much higher for certain items like cars, little items like cars. 46%, we're charging them 24%. India, very, very tough, very, very tough. The Prime Minister just left. He's a great friend of mine, but I said, you're a friend of mine, but you're not treating us right. They charge us 52%. You have to understand, we charge them almost nothing for years and years and decades, and it was only 7 years ago when I came in, we started with China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China in tariffs, and they understood, honestly. President Xi understood. He said, look, I understand. And the other countries, and they all understand. We're going to have to go through a little tough love, maybe, but they all understand. They're ripping us off, and they understood it. Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe. He was a fantastic man. He was unfortunately taken from us, assassination. But I went to him and I said, Shinzo, we have to do something. Trade is not fair. And he said, I know that. I know that.
And then he died.
And he was a great gentleman. He was a fantastic man. But he understood immediately what I was talking about. I said, Shinzo, we have to do something. He said, I know that.
Are these broad tariffs? Yes, I believe they're to every country, right? Minimum 10%? I think I just read a tweet for that.
We worked out a deal, and it would have been a much better deal. But frankly, there were many years left on the deal that was made previous to my getting there. But it was something. If you look at Switzerland, 61% to 31%. Indonesia, Malaysia, Cambodia. Oh, look at Cambodia, 97%. We're going to bring it down to 49%. They made a fortune with the United States of America. United Kingdom, 10%, and we'll go 10%. So we'll do the same thing.
Oh, wait. I'm so sorry. Wait. I just ignore all these charts because this guy's fucking retarded. Wait, so are these the new tariff rates that we're setting on every single country? Using what power? Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. How can the president do this with the National Emergencies Act? You have to have an emergency to set a tariff. How can he set tariffs on other countries like this? Wait, what? Hello? Oh, fuck. This is why that legal argument thread earlier was important. The fuck? It's a little known power called "No One Will Stop Me."
South Africa, 60%, 30%.
That's a lot of people sending fentanyl to the United States.
They've got some bad things going on in
Damn.
South Africa. You know, we're paying them billions of dollars and we cut the funding because a lot of bad things are happening in South Africa. The fake news ought to be looking at it. They don't want to report it. Brazil, 10%, 10%. Bangladesh is 74%. So you see what's going on. Pakistan, 58%. Sri Lanka, 88%. So what we're doing is we're taking not the full, we could take the full 88%. Thanks a lot. He's doing a very good job. How's he doing, all right? Woo! I think you better take it with you. It's not going to last very long. He's going to put it, it's going to follow you down with the wind. I brought a hat just in case it got too windy, but here, would anybody like a hat? I'm not giving it to a cabinet. I'm giving it to the auto workers. Come here. Yeah. Thank you, fellas. Get it. That's it. That's it. They deserve it more than our cabinet. Our cabinet has plenty of hats. But you see the numbers. The numbers are so disproportionate. They're so unfair. At the same time, we will establish a minimum baseline tariff of 10%. You notice that on the chart? And that'll be on other countries to help rebuild our economy and to prevent cheating. So we're going to have a minimum of cheating, and we're going to be very severe on the people that at the gate that watch the tariffs and watch the product coming in, because there's been a lot of bad things happening at the gate.
True.
Because the money is so enormous that you're talking about. There's
True.
never been probably anything like it in terms of the enormity. And there are a lot of bad things happen at the people that do the check-in, and they're looking at 10-year jail sentences if they do play. We're going to treat them so good, but if they cheat, the repercussions are going to be extremely strong. Foreign nations will finally be asked to pay for the privilege of access to our market, the biggest market in the world. We're right now the biggest market in the world. We had a great country 4 years ago in terms of the economics. We were doubling up on China.
Absolutely.
We were doing so well. Nobody was going to
So
catch us.
good
but
at the height
so
of
much of it
COVID.
slipped away over the last 4 years.
Whereas
under
COVID was slipping away,
I
yes.
campaigned on this policy throughout last year, and today that promise was made, and it was also a promise, as you know, that was kept. Promises made, promises kept. To any company that objects to our common sense reciprocal tariffs, again,
common sense.
reciprocal, back and forth, and I call this kind reciprocal. This is not full reciprocal. This is kind reciprocal. But what we do is we cut it in half. We charge them. My answer is very simple. If they complain, if you want your tariff rate to be zero, then you build your product right here in America, because there is no tariff if you build your plant, your product in America. Woo! And we've seen companies coming in like we've never seen before. Likewise, to all of the foreign presidents, prime ministers, kings, queens, ambassadors, and
32% on
everyone
Taiwan.
else
God
who's only
damn,
calling to
really?
ask for exemptions from these tariffs. I
Jesus.
say, terminate your own tariffs, drop your barriers, don't manipulate your currencies. They manipulate their currencies like nobody can even believe, which is a bad, bad thing and very devastating to us, and start buying tens of billions of dollars of American goods. Tariffs give our country protection against those that would do us economic harm, and many people were looking to do us economic harm. Maybe not so obviously, but they were doing tremendous economic harm. But even more importantly, they will give us growth. These tariffs are going to give us growth like you haven't seen before, and it'll be something very special to watch. I am so looking forward, and Brian, it's going to happen even faster than you said. You know, you might say, but it's already started. It's already started. Work's already begun on plants all around the country, and you see that it's before. These are big, rich companies. We have $61 billion started on a big plant going up. It's going to be announced over the next 2 days. And
Mind
they
video
already
stock's
started
about to
work.
get
Many of
fucked,
these
isn't
the biggest companies in the world, they've committed to build. We're going to build, sir. And they came here to see me, and wanted to know if they could have a press conference. I do as many as I can. I'm pretty busy trying to stop Russia and Ukraine and the Middle East. We got to stop that. We're going to stop the Houthis, which we're making tremendous. They like shooting ships down and out of the water, sinking ships. They get a kick out of it, but they're not getting such a kick out of it now, are they, Mr. Secretary? They're not getting such a kick out of that now. But here are just a short list of some of the companies that have already announced and committed to investment. And this is a company that built its factories and its plants in China. Apple is going to spend $500 billion. They never spent money like that here. They're going to build their plants here. SoftBank, OpenAI, and Oracle, great companies, are investing $500 billion almost immediately. NVIDIA, a hot company, is investing hundreds of billions of dollars. They just announced. TSMC, the biggest, most important company in the world of chips from Taiwan, with no investment from us, is investing $200 billion. And they said the reason was, number one, the election of November 5th, and number two, the tariffs. They don't want to pay the tariffs, and the way they're not paying it is to build their plant here. So we're going to go from almost no percentage. We used to have 100% of the chip market. Now it's all in Taiwan. Almost all of it's in Taiwan. A couple of other countries, but mostly in Taiwan. And think of it. We had 100%. We lost it because of people in that office that didn't do their job. They allowed it to be stolen from us.
True.
Johnson & Johnson, great company, $55 billion. Eli Lilly, $27 billion. Meta is investing $500 billion. Wow. DeMac is investing $20 billion. CMA, CGM, $20 billion. And then you have Merck and Clarios, Stellantis, General Motors, GE Aerospace, Honda, Nissan, Hyundai are
Nissan,
all putting in billions
Hyundai.
and billions of dollars, and they're committed.
He's
100%.
never heard of these shitter cars in his life.
And we've never had, and
Oh
this is
my
after
God.
2.5 months. This is after just a short, this all took place as soon as we came out with what everybody wanted to do. You know, I watched a gentleman today on television, used to work with Lee Iacocca, a very respected automobile person, and he said, you know, because they're asking people, and they try and get as many negative people as they can, but they can't find them too much. It's pretty hard to find in terms of what we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when they see all this investment. They said, so tell me, what do you think of what Trump is doing from the automobile standpoint? He said,
He's saving the
I
goddamn
can't
country.
believe it. Somebody is finally, he's an older guy, real pro, really top guy, with Lee Iacocca. He said, I never thought I'd see the day when this would happen, where somebody had the courage to go and do what has to be done. This is transforming our nation. Our entire nation is going to be transformed, not only with the cars, but on every single other item that's built. We're going to become an industrial powerhouse. And he said that so beautifully today. In fact,
So
I'm going to
beautiful.
find out, I'm going to get a tape. And Bruce, I'm going to get that tape and I'm going to send it to you out in Long Island, and you're going to play it for the people. And all your union workers and your non-union workers out there, you got a pretty even split. But we have, so far, it looks like we're going to have about $6 trillion of investments, and you wouldn't do that in years.
Not in
this
years.
country over the last number of years. $6 trillion, and that's going to be much higher by the end of the year. And think of what $6 trillion is. You wouldn't have even a small percentage of that under this other system. We're going to be an entirely different country, and it's going to be fantastic for the workers. It's going to be fantastic for everyone. There will never have been a transformation of a country like the transformation that's already happening in the United States of America. It's an incredible thing to watch, and it's incredible to meet with the top people that you read about, very wealthy people, or people that are great managers and executives and presidents of big public companies, and to watch the enthusiasm they have now that they didn't have. They gave up on our country. They went to foreign countries and they built. Companies are pouring into our country at levels never seen before, with jobs and money to follow, and it's really beautiful. In the coming days, there will be complaints from the globalists and the outsourcers and special interests and the fake news. Always, the fake news will always complain. But never forget, every prediction our opponents made about trade for the last 30 years has been proven totally wrong.
Is that true?
They were wrong about NAFTA.
Oh, okay.
They were wrong about China. They were wrong about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would have been a disaster if I didn't terminate it. If I didn't terminate that, United Auto Workers, you would have had no jobs in this country. You would have had no jobs. It was all going to other countries. In my first term, they said tariffs would crash the economy. Instead, we built the greatest economy in the history of the world. And again, I have great respect for President Xi of China, great respect for China, but they were taking tremendous advantage of us, and I commend them for that. I say, hey, if you can get away with it, that's okay. But, you know, they understand exactly what's happening, and they probably, most of them are saying it's about time they did something, but, and they're going to fight, and they're going to fight fair. Everyone's going to fight. You know, it's like, I say to the leaders, look, you got to take care of your country, but we have to start taking care of our country now. We can't do what we've been doing for the last 50 years. From the day of my election, the stock market went up in my first term 88%, with NASDAQ going up 155%, more than any president has ever had in any term in office, by far.
By far.
And I think we're going to blow that away. And maybe the numbers won't show, but I think they're going to show much better than even those numbers. But what you're going to see is you're going to see activity, that empty, dead sites, factories that are falling down. Those factories will be knocked down, and they're going to have brand new factories built in their place. They're not only talking about renovating, they're talking about brand new, the best anywhere in the world, the biggest anywhere in the world. I have a friend who builds car plants, and I said, I want to see the biggest and the best. He said, well, we have to go to Mexico. I said, no, I want to see it in the United States. He said, we're not building them in there. This is a year and a half ago during the campaign. He said, we're not building it. You'd have to go to Mexico. when I was starting to decide to run, and I went to #1 in the polls very rapidly.
Israel getting hit with a 17% tariff. That's extra funny because I think Israel just yesterday dropped all of their tariffs, everything against the U.S., maybe hoping that Trump wouldn't tariff them. Although I can't imagine they wouldn't talk about it beforehand. But it's hard to imagine anything right now because everything is so fucking stupid because who knows what anybody's doing for any of this.
What to say? I want to, like, let's say in the first hour. And then shortly thereafter, it looked like I was going to win, and the fake news was saying, oh, no, don't do this. What they don't know is if I didn't win, they would have really been in trouble because nobody wants to read them anyway. But I tell you what, when when it looked like I was going to win,
so funny.
I announced that I was going to be doing exactly what we're talking about today. Great consistency, actually, because I've been talking about it for 40 years. But because I saw what was happening 40 years ago. If you look at my old speeches when I was young, very handsome. My old speeches, and then people would say I'd be on a television show. I'd be talking about how we were being ripped off by these countries. I mean, nothing.
If you were talking about this 40 years ago, then why didn't you do any of this in your first 4 years as president?
But nothing really changes. But it's why it's such an honor. It's such an honor to be finally able to do this. If you look at China, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in my term. Hundreds of billions. They never paid 10 cents to any other president, and yet they paid hundreds of billions, so much so that Biden couldn't do anything. They wanted to try and terminate it because he had a very special relationship with China. You know what the relationship was? He had a special relationship. But the numbers were so big, that they couldn't do it. So they did ease it up. They did things that they shouldn't have done. They made it a lot more comfortable for them, but they couldn't do it because the numbers were hundreds of billions of dollars, and I did that. And we were on our way to doing something like incredible. And then we had a very bad election happen, a lot of bad things happened. So when I said we got to do it again, I said we have to make it too big to rig, and we made it too big to rig, and we won in records, and it was a monumental win. And it was such an honor to see so many of you, like Brian and your friends, here with us to celebrate and to, more importantly, celebrate what we're doing, because that wouldn't be a full celebration if we didn't do this, because this will be an entirely different country in a short period of time. It'll be something the whole world will be talking about it.
That's true.
Critics made the very tired predictions earlier this year, but in February, core inflation dropped to the lowest rate in 4 years.
Core inflation.
And the price of eggs, as you know, just in a month and a half, we were there for 4 weeks. And
check out Newsmax stock closed today, ticker NMAX. They had a huge gain, right? They dropped 76%. Isn't that that's still way higher than their IPO though? They IPO'd, that was an insane gain. It was crazy. They're still up 200% from when they IPO'd. Also, in case you didn't know, Newsmax and OAN or whatever, like these news stations, these are worse than Breitbart. These are just like pure propaganda bullshit news companies or whatever. They're just like the reason why Fox News ended up pushing the fake election Dominion shit was because they were trying to compete with the propaganda that Newsmax and OAN were putting out, and they were losing customers to them. Although it looks like apparently Newsmax is growing at an insane rate regardless now, so Fox News wasn't able to toe the line enough for MAGA, I guess.
I got blamed for eggs. I said I just got, they said eggs have gone up at like 250% and you can't get eggs. And they were going crazy, and I said, I just got here. And then we got to work on eggs, and we got to work on everything, and our great Secretary of Agriculture, you did a fantastic job. Brooke Rollins, she did a fantastic job. And as I said before, the price of eggs dropped now 59%, and they're going down more, and the availability is fantastic. They were saying that for Easter, please don't use eggs. Could you use plastic eggs? I said, we don't want to do that. We want to, and you really came through. It's an amazing job. Thank you very much, Brooke. You did great. But likewise, an old-fashioned term that we use, groceries. I used it on the campaign. It's such an old-fashioned term, but a beautiful term, groceries. It sort of says a bag with different things in it. Groceries went through the roof. And I campaigned on that. I talked about the word groceries for a lot. And energy costs now are down. Groceries are down. Gasoline is way under $3, and people are beginning to be able to...
Unironically, Russia-style state propaganda. I don't know. I don't know if I would say that, although I'm not as familiar with how Russian propaganda works. But like, I don't know if in Russia, it's not like North Korea, I don't think, where they try to say on their state media like Putin is a god emperor who golfs, you know, perfect games and is like the best person in the world. Like, I don't know if Russia propaganda works that way per se. They just kind of like muddy the waters and fuck with everybody. But OAN shit or Newsmax stuff is more akin to like North Korea propaganda, where Trump is a god emperor who can never do any wrong and everybody's always happy with everything that he does no matter what. Like, I think it's just from the little I've seen of RT, but maybe domestic Russian media, state media is worse, and I just don't see it as much. But from what I've seen from reading and interacting with RT versus like Newsmax or OAN, Newsmax and OAN are far more akin to North Korean style propaganda than Russian style propaganda.
Buy things and live again. We brought prices way down. We created 10,000 already in a few weeks, new manufacturing jobs, and it was that took place in 1 month. Numbers that they haven't seen in a long time. We had virtually no inflation under my term. We had virtually no inflation for 4 years, but after transitioning over to Sleepy Joe, it went from almost non-existent to the highest in the history of our country. We had the highest inflation in the history of our country, brought up by energy and bad spending and bad policy, and a lot of bad things happened. How about allowing millions and millions and millions of people to pour into our country with open borders, where the it's so sad to see even now, and I see our great secretary of You Have Done. Stand up, please, Christy. Stand up. Christy Noem.
No.
And Tom Homan. These people are doing a great job, but gotten them out in records. We have problems with judges that don't want them to go out. They want Tren de Aragua, and they want MS-13, the most vicious gangs ever. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Absolute killer gangs. They kill people. They don't even think about it. And we put them out, and we have judges now, radical left judges that want to. They don't want them to go out. They want them to even be brought back. Let's bring them back. You've done a fantastic job, and please thank everybody. Homeland Security, thank everybody. Appreciate it.
Clap and shout.
And we now have a border that's the best border that we've ever had, even better than it was my first term. My first term we did good, but this one we really specialized in. We've done really well, and we had records then. We had the best, safest border 4 years ago. We had the best border there ever was, and now we have. You've actually matched it and done even better, and we're going to get it down the right way. And we want people, by the way, to come into our country, but we want them to come in through a legal process. We want them to come in legally. We need more people. We need people to run these plants and to help.
Oh, he says it. Is somebody finally giving him that talking point? Because it's fucking true. You're going to need hella people if you want to run these fucking plants. We absolutely do not have, and you're trying to deport all the people that would even be naturally inclined to run these places, right? Because especially illegal immigrants are probably the ones working the most, like working class, least training required jobs. And now you're shipping them all out.
To come in through a legal process. We want them to come in legally. We need more people. We need people to run these plants and to help the auto workers and the Teamsters and the non-union people and everybody else. But we need people and the farmers. And we're going to let people come in, but they want to come in. We want them to come in legally. They have to have the capability of loving our country, not people that hate our country. We don't want them in our country. And now we're going to pass the largest tax cuts in American history, and that's where we're relying on Mike and John Thune. And we will not cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid benefits, and the Democrats will, because if they got in, the entire economy would collapse. This country was heading for a collapse under the people that you saw. They were horrible. I think one of the reasons people like the job, I have my highest approval ratings because I think they're comparing me to the worst administration in the history of our country, so I appreciate that at least. But Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and Senate Majority Leader, appreciate it, Mike. John Thune have been fantastic, by the way. But they've been working tirelessly on taking the next step to pass the plan for our one big, beautiful bill. I'd like to name it that if you can. One big, I made that statement about 6 months ago, and everybody calls it one big, beautiful bill. And it will be that. It'll have everything, the big tax cuts and every incentive there is. And it'll be fantastic. And by the way, for the cars, we're asking for an interest deduction on a loan. So if you build the car, only in America we do it, Brian. If the car's not built in America, you don't get the interest rate deduction. But if you build the car in America, if you buy a car, if it's built in America, then you get an interest rate deduction, tax deduction, and that's a big thing. That's going to be a big thing. I think that's going to pay for itself very quickly. That deduction never happened. We've never had anything like that before. Somebody said, where do you get the idea? Because it's so basic. You would think that would have happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
It never did, and I'm very happy it didn't because now I can say that was my idea. But we're going to get us closer to the debt extension. We have to get the debt extension passed, and I know you're going to be able to do that, Mike, and it's very important that you do that. And all of the other things that the Senate budget plan gives us, along with working, because I know they're working together, John and Mike, and the two bills are going very well together. We need to get our shared priorities done, including certain permanent tax cuts. We want the tax cuts to be permanent, spending cuts, energy and historic investments in defense, border, and so much more. We're covering everything. These will be phenomenal. There'll be no bill like this. Going to straighten. One bill is going to straighten out our country for many, many years to come. And we said, let's just do it and let's get it done. And some guys will love it and some guys will like it a little bit less because they're not getting what they were exactly looking for, but they're getting a lot. They'll never, if we get this done, it'll be the most incredible.
If the Dems ever get back in power, how can anyone argue that they shouldn't just copy the Trump playbook? Remember, it's different goals, right? Like, how do you troll a teammate that's inting your team? Well, next game you could int him, but at the end of the day, you're all losing ELO or MM or whatever the fuck the rating points were, right? That's the issue. is ideally the Democrats want to govern and create a better country, and I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. We don't have the same goals.
Incredible bill ever passed in the history of our Congress and Senate, and congressmen, the senators and the congressmen, many of whom are here today, will be very proud of themselves. I really believe that it's going to set us on a whole new prosperous path. We're going to cut spending and right-size the budget back to where it should be. We're going to do that very strongly. Woo. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, John. Thank you. Oh, look at all of our senators. Oh boy, that's a nice group of people. But I won't like them so much if they don't get this bill done. That's a great group, and Congressman, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Tremendous people. The Senate plan is my complete and total support, and the House plan likewise is very similar. They're moving along pretty much at the same clip, and as soon as you're ready, you'll show it to me.
What happened to Republicans? They have maintained the party of lower taxes and better economies, while Trump also championed things that are directly against it, such as no cuts on Social Security or Medicare, but also lowering taxes. How does no one question his everything I'll do is good? Why has no one done these good things? Nothing will be. The problem is just that like Republicans don't have any strong values when it comes to how the country should be ran or what the country should look or anything like that. The Republicans just don't have those strong values. So if you're searching for them, you're never going to find them.
I mean, I'm sure it'll have my support, Mike. Every Republican congressman and senator must unify. We have to unify. We can't be separated. We have to get it done. We have to get absolutely everything we can, and we have to take care of the American people. That's the only thing that matters. We have to take care of the American people first. We need to pass this bill immediately, get it done, including debt extension. From this day on, we're not going to let anyone tell us that American workers and families cannot have the future that they deserve. We're going to produce the cars and ships, chips, airplanes, minerals, and medicines that we need right here in America. The pharmaceutical companies are going to become roaring back. They're coming roaring back. They're all coming back to our country because if they don't, they got a big tax to pay. And if they do, I'll be very happy, and you're going to be very happy, and you're going to be very safe. We're going to build our future with American hands, with American heart, American steel, and we're going to build it with American pride like we used to. We're approaching our 100th day as president, and have been given credit by a lot of people, actually, even some of the fake news. Can you believe it? Which in this case hopefully isn't fake, for having done more in that time than any other administration in the history of our country in the first 100 days. I think we've had an amazing, in terms of what we've done, what we've gotten accomplished. I'd like to see if we can get that war ended and another war from not starting in the Middle East. We have to get Russia. They're losing 2,000 on average, 2,500 people today, young people, soldiers, Russian. Think of that, 2,500.
Why did he abandon that one talking point? The only thing that stops a bullet is a body. I missed that one, Rip.
Through some days, but on average, probably over about a 1 week period, it's 2,712, they say. They're losing those soldiers. They're dying. They're being decimated. And they're not from our country, but they're from other countries. But they're human beings. They're from Russia. They're from Ukraine in this period, most of them. And we're going to get it stopped. It's a senseless war that would have never happened if I was president, and it shouldn't be allowed to go on. And I think we're being given good cooperation by Russia and by Ukraine.
Remember, at this point, he's basically lost all credibility in saying that. When he was president for 4 years, Russia never slowed down the aggression of the Donbass. He said that he would come in and that the war would end before he even came into office. Then he said it would end on day one. He's now been in office for, 60, 70 some days. The war hasn't slowed down at all. Russia has amped up its attacks in some regards. They did it the day after the U.S. said they were going to cease showing intelligence. So there's absolutely no reason to think that that invasion wouldn't have happened under Trump, because nothing has slowed down on the Russian end since Trump has taken office. So,
but we have to get it stopped. It's humanity. It's humanity. It's a terrible thing. This will be a very big moment. I think you're going to remember today. It's going to be a free nation that we're dealing with. We're going to have a very free and beautiful nation. It's going to be Liberation Day in America, and it's going to be a day that hopefully you're going to look back in years to come and you're going to say, you know, he was right. This has turned out to be one of the most important days in the history of our country. God bless you and God bless America. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are there any like news channels live that are covering the market stuff? Like does Bloomberg or the Wall Street Journal? Oh, hold on.
Good afternoon, y'all. We have two documents prepared for the president's signature today. One closes what's referred to as the minimus loophole with respect to imports from the The other is the big one, is the reciprocal tariff executive order that the president has spoken about.
Is Trump correct historically on the tariffs funding the government before income tax? I think, yeah, before the government used to be exclusively funded by tariffs, but the size of the government and the jobs that the government has grown to encompass have grown significantly since then.
This is obviously a huge deal, and it's been honored to be a part of the team getting
This is big stuff.
Can you look up the exact tariffs? It's just a chart showing huge percentages on basically every fucking country that we trade with. Well, apparently there was an alcohol tax as well. Wow, you can write. Good job. So beautiful. Woo! 10% tariff on Ukraine and no tariffs on Russia. Based.
Mr. President, what will you do if the EU or other countries retaliate?
I think Amazon was in talks to buy TikTok or something. I don't know if there's any more news about that.